was one of the most beautiful things that Carl Sagan ever said, and for a man who could so famously find beauty in the universe, that's saying something. In his 1973 book, The Cosmic Connection, Sagan wrote, "All of the rocky and metallic material we stand on, the iron in our blood, the calcium in our teeth, the carbon in our genes, were produced billions of years ago in the interior of a red giant star. We are made of star stuff." It is a poetic way of viewing the universe that later Sagan made even more popular in the original Cosmos series. But what did he mean, and how much of you really is star stuff? Well, the idea goes back to a truism that we've talked about before. In addition to providing light and heat, stars are also element factories. The smallest and simplest of the elements is hydrogen, just a single proton and an electron. This is the most basic form of the stuff Sagan was talking about, and it, along with much of the helium in the universe, are the result of the Big Bang. But everything in the universe heavier than hydrogen, and that ancient helium, was made by a star. Stars spend most of their lives fusing hydrogen to helium. This is called the main sequence of a star's development, and it includes stars as diverse as our Sun, a so-called yellow dwarf, to our nearest celestial neighbour, Proxima Centauri, a red dwarf. But some stars become massive enough to fuse more than hydrogen. The enormous heat and pressure generated by stars even a little bigger than our Sun can go on to fuse 3 helium nuclei to make carbon, and then add even more hydrogen nuclei to create nitrogen and oxygen. On and on these reactions go, as the stars fuse elements into more heavier elements, all the way up to iron, the most stable element, element 26. These element makers, the sources of all carbon, calcium and oxygen, and other precious things, are the red giants Sagan was referring to. But it doesn't stop there. We know that because the universe, and you, is full of stuff that's heavier than iron. In some red giants, during their final death throes, their cores will collapse and heat up even more, generating enough heat to fuse even iron nuclei, forming elements as heavy as bismuth, element 93. But most of the heaviest elements come from something even more fantastic: supernovas. These elements can only be fused into being with the energy that comes with the final collapse and explosion of a dying star. Gold, silver, lead, uranium, they were all created by stars that had run out of nuclear fuel, their enormous masses collapsing in on themselves by the force of gravity, and then flinging out their remains into the universe as clouds of gas and dust. And then those clouds went on to form other stars, and then other planets, and ultimately, you. So how much of you is made of dead stars? Well, you've probably heard that you're made mostly of water, which is true. The average human being is about 53% H2O, each molecule of which contains 2 atoms of hydrogen dating back to the Big Bang. There are lots of other compounds in your body, of course, but scientists estimate that, mainly because there is so much water inside you, hydrogen is by far the most common atom in your body, accounting for 62% of the 7 billion atoms that make you you. So, counting atom by atom, you are 38% star stuff, and everything that's not hydrogen, oxygen, carbon, nitrogen, calcium, all products that were manufactured by red giant stars and supernovas billions of years ago. But hydrogen is also the smallest, least massive atom. So if you wanted to measure your body's chemistry by mass, you're only about 10% hydrogen. Therefore, by mass, you're 90% star stuff. But no matter how you size it up, all of the rest of you, that hydrogen, is 13 billion years old. So you're not all star stuff. But the way I like to think of it, and I think Sagan would agree, is that there's no part of you that isn't literally astronomical. Thanks for joining me for Scishow Space. And if you want to help us keep exploring the universe, just go to superball.com/scishow. And don't forget to go to youtube.com/scishowspace and subscribe.